Okay, we'll call to order the Board of Health meeting for 3/25 at 3:36 p.m. So today we have Eric Badger. He wanted to, I guess, Kevin, you've already you already know Eric, so I guess an introduction isn't necessary, Eric, but
Yes, I do.
um,
We've met a time or two.
um, okay. So Eric, if you want to take it away with just kind of, what we're looking to do for the next over the next few months, cadence of the meetings and things like that.
Absolutely. All right, so welcome back, guys, and welcome aboard, Kevin. It's good to have
Thank
another
you.
member. Hopefully, we can get a third soon. So let's start off by asking, how was the training in Plymouth over Saturday?
It's good
It
and
was fine.
informative.
That's what I was hoping it would be, because I was glad I was able to send all three of you at once.
Yep.
We've never been able to do that before, but the grants allowed us to pay for that this year, so it didn't cost the town anything, which is always good for the town. Plus, I always like free education. I used to go to those consistently every year, and I think after about 15 in a row, I was like, okay, it's kind of like repetitive for me.
Mm.
But I'm glad you guys were able to get a lot of input. Michelle enjoyed it. She took a lot of input. She learned a lot. And Other than that, things in the office are going well. We're doing the best we can to keep our head above water. And we've been using the grant and taking advantage of the grant this past year. And hopefully, we'll get an approval for another 3-year grant on top of that through the state, which will basically have this regionalization project for the 6 towns continue. That'll cover me if I take vacation, sick time, personal time. The other agents will cover Bridgewater. Moving on from that, what I see happening in the future here is I think we have to make a decision on who wants to be chair. If either one of you wants to step up as chair, you can do it between each other, make the decision, or we can. I mean, I'd rather not have to wait till we get a third member to take a vote, but usually we have to select a chair, somebody that can
Yeah,
act
and
as
just to recap what the chair what entitles the chair, all you're doing is you're setting the agenda, and you're getting it over to me so I can post it. It's not any extra work. I do all the posting. You just have to be sure to send me agenda items. In the future, if it's something, if a board member wants to have an item on the agenda, they normally have to go through the chair to do so. So that would just be the process. It wouldn't be, if Kevin wasn't the chair, sending it to me and then me uh, adding it to the agenda. It has to go through whoever the chair is. That's the only process we have to kind of keep to. And we just have a 48-hour meeting posting notice that we have to hit. So I think everybody here's agreed that 3:30 on Wednesdays works. So as long as I have an agenda by the Monday prior to the meeting, I can get it posted.
Yeah.
Well, I would, unlike coming out of COVID, I thought maybe some of the decisions the board would be making were a little more in my wheelhouse. I think nowadays things are probably a little bit more in the things we're going to be focused on are probably a little bit more in Kevin's wheelhouse. So I'd be willing to be chair, but I think the stuff that most of the discussion points we'll be discussing this session will probably be more in your wheelhouse, in your area of expertise. So if you wanted to be chair, that would be fine with me.
Well, I was actually thinking the opposite direction, actually. Thinking more of along the lines of, well, you've been on the board longer than I have, and I would give you the opportunity if you want to be chair. Um, just because, yes, I am new to this procedure and the process. But again, it's up to you. I'll put in your um, cap if you'd like it. Go for it. If you don't want to, I don't mind taking on the responsibility.
And just a quick interjection. You guys actually have to reorganize effective July 1st. So you have to re-elect a
Yep.
chair anyways. So it'd just be for a few months. So you can kind of just
Yeah.
see how it goes and, swap back and forth depending on if we have another member.
Sure.
Okay, well, in that case, well, I guess I can be chair, and we'll see how if that's all right with you, I'll be chair, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
And if
I like that.
and then maybe if you get your feet a little more wet and you feel like making a change later, it that would be fine with me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that sounds like a great idea.
So as long as we can just to understand, like, so I know Kevin and I, we shouldn't be communicating about items offline, but we can communicate with each other via email as far as setting an agenda.
So,
As, as long as we're not
yeah,
making decisions or giving our opinions,
yep.
that's
Okay.
sort of the
Yeah.
line that we cross. But if I
And
were to go to you and say, I'd like you to add something to agenda, no matter what it is, the topic that I'm talking about, then that's perfectly fine.
yeah, and I think with email, especially with how few members you need for to be considered a quorum, I tell all the committees just send it through me, and then I'll get it. I'll BCC everybody. I keep track of everything. I have it all
Yeah.
on my town email, so it's easier that way. I know it's kind of having a middleman, but I'm always responding, and I'll make sure it gets distributed correctly. So that
Yep.
just covers all of our bases that way. So if you either you come up with something, some information or, like Eric did with that training, just get it
Yep.
over to me. I'll send it out to the committee and or the board, and that way we're not violating anything.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Well, the,
so
the the next step would just be Bill or Kevin, either of you just motion to make Bill the chair of the Board of Health, and then you just do a roll call vote.
I'd like to make a motion to have Bill be the chair of the Board of Health.
second,
And then I can do your roll call. So Bill, you just say aye.
yeah, yeah,
Yep. And then Kevin.
Aye.
All right. The motion was approved. All right. And I'll write that down for your guys' minutes that get posted. So for your next meeting, I'll attach your minutes document, and you'll just need to vote and approve that. Just similar to what we just did for the chair position.
Okay.
Um, so it takes care of that. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add, Eric, right now?
Just upcoming, I think some of the upcoming agenda items to look out for is that we're working on
Yeah.
that tobacco regulation and enforcement with the MAHB that we signed an agreement with. I've got a couple of violations I got to write up and serve notice to. So as any notice or any fine, they have a right to an appeal. I can't decide on that appeal, so they would have to come in front of the board for that appeal, and you guys would vote either to acknowledge the appeal or deny the appeal.
Okay.
Just that's probably going to be in a future board agenda. I'll forward that to Josh to forward to you to decide on if you want to put that on the agenda.
these are civil citations.
Correct.
Okay.
We have an agency that works for the town from the state that goes out and does tobacco enforcement. And when they catch a violation, they notify me, and then I have to write up the letter as well as the fine.
These violations of selling
If
to
they're not
age
labeling
or
a product, if they're selling a product that's a violation, that's basically if it's a vape product, it's a flavored product that's above 3.5, that's a violation. If you have a cigar case you're selling out of and it's not locked and secured, but it's accessible from the customer, that's a violation. Underage sales is a violation, things of that nature,
okay.
as well as not posting signage.
Okay.
And is
So
there
that's
like a time requirement on those? So when you get the violations, do they have to get to the Board of Health within and voted
it's
in a certain
usually
time
within
period?
it's usually within a 14-day period.
Okay. So once we get those over to Bill and Kevin, they might just have to convene a meeting essentially
Well, if
within
there's an
a week.
appeal, if they pay the
Oh,
fine and
okay.
they pay and they understand the violation and they agree to it, then it just goes forward. But if they deny and they want to make an appeal in front of the board as to why they created the violation and why they feel they shouldn't be fined or they shouldn't have their tobacco license pulled, they can argue to the board.
Okay.
Yep.
And
All
then
right. So
we'll
what
make
if
a decision.
if Bill's okay with it, if you get those, if you get one over, if you get an appeal over to me, Eric, I'll at least, if it's outside of the normal meeting time frame, I can get a agenda started for you, Bill. You just review, confirm that that's what you'd like to have on the agenda, and then you guys would just convene outside of your normal, um, normally scheduled meetings. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Eric?
Um, like I said, the grant that we're part of, we're going to be having a meeting tomorrow in Halifax, the six towns, about moving forward with a public health outreach and educational purpose for food service establishments. What we're seeing consistently in all six towns is the competitive violations under the food code, and it seems to be the same violations. So we're trying to educate the food establishments on what we expect before we come out for an inspection to get kind of back on track with good practice. A lot of food establishments out there are becoming too complacent. They haven't had enough food inspections over the past years, and now we're trying to improve upon that with increased inspections and focusing on employers to train their employees better. So that's coming up over the next few months. We've put a plan together. We're going to present the plan tomorrow at the meeting in Halifax, and I'll keep you guys updated on that as I have with the town manager. Um, so if anything comes of that that needs the attention of the board, I will inform you guys and let you know.
Thank you.
Is that a similar situation? Like if you were to cite them or
Correct.
they could appeal?
So what we're seeing is with our contracted inspector, we're seeing a lot of consistent red line items. There's blue line and red line. Red line items like critical, like raw meats stored improperly, cross contamination points, improper temperatures. We're seeing a lot of that, and when they write them up, we tell them this has to be corrected within the next 24 hours. We go back for a re-inspection. So what we did is we all sat down, we went on and notated all six towns what we're seeing, worst case scenario, and how can we fix that moving forward for better food protection in all the towns. And now we're on a regional joint venture to do that, and I think we've got a good grasp on how to approach this. So tomorrow we're going to present it to all the rest of the towns, myself and Kayla Smith in Middleborough, and take a vote on it, get the information out there, and start going out to the establishments and assisting each other in our towns and going out and educating the employers' employees.
So this is initially more of an education
Correct.
period. We're just trying to turn the corner
Yeah,
and
the goal is to the whole time for me is to do more public health outreach
yeah.
in the public and for better preventative measures, better public health and safety. Where we've lacked personnel in the past, I haven't had all this extra time to do this, but now with the help of the regional project, we can assist each other in those areas, um, which is going to be beneficial long term. And I hope we get refunded for the next 3 years after this fiscal year. Regardless, it's somewhere to start where we have to start showing these food service establishments that we're going to be around more and more. So don't become too complacent in bad practices. Um, and that's all it is to be more hands-on and proactive.
This actually ties a lot into the conference that we just went to, focusing a lot of the energy in preventing the problems before and not just handing out fines for stuff. It's it's a good approach that I see.
I
Great.
agree. And that was the whole point of all of us getting together and talking about what we're seeing in our towns and where we're falling short because of manpower. And
Yep.
these are the things we'd like to be more active on, that we weren't able to do in the past.
Yeah.
So we're going to take full advantage of it now while we have the cooperation and the regionalization project going on. Who knows if this is the last year we can do it. I see myself signing an MOU with East Bridgewater and West Bridgewater with the agents there and try to continue our little Bridgewater
Yeah.
regionalization project. But we'll see. We'll see what the next year brings, but we have to start somewhere.
Those are both good groups to be paired up with. I've worked with both sets of health agents multiple times.
Yes, and Michael Soares in East Bridgewater, he's fairly new, but he's very experienced,
Right.
and he'll
Yep.
work out well as in an MOU together.
Yeah.
So moving forward, like anything that comes up, I will forward to Josh, and they will forward to you guys on the board, and we can make a decision from there.
Excellent.
Okay.
Anything from the board? Anything you guys want to be looked into, discussed at the next meeting? Any information I can get provided to you guys, questions, anything like that?
Not at the moment for me.
Not at the moment.
All right, well, let's see. The next meeting, it looks like, unless there was an appeal that came up, would be
Nope.
scheduled for, did we say the fourth Wednesday or the last Wednesday of the month? Because there's 5 Wednesdays next month.
We did say the 4th.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so that'd be April 22nd at 3:30. Um, s-
I
yep.
I'm sure, is that the week of April vacation?
That I don't know.
Let me just want to make sure I'm going to be here for that. April 20. I will not be here April 22nd.
Okay. Do you guys want to push
Okay.
it to April 29th then?
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
No concerns
All
there.
right. So Bill, if you don't mind just getting me any agenda items that you'd want on the agenda by the 27th. Um, and then that way I can get it posted. And like I said, as Eric sends us stuff, I'll make sure to try to keep that tracked for you. That way I can remind you of anything that you might have missed when you get that sent in.
Okay.
All
And
right.
anything, Eric, that you want to share, that the health department and the town's been working on, just so we, going before meetings, so we kind of have an idea what's, anything that you might think might be relevant, just so we can go into the meeting, um, knowing what you've been working on, or,
Yeah, we could put that as a running agenda item, just a health department update,
Yeah,
if you guys would
open
like.
discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Eric can make the meeting that day, then be perfect. So yeah, it's a good idea. Anything else from you guys?
no,
No.
Okay. So the next item would just be a motion to adjourn. Either of you can make it, and then we go through the roll call again.
motion to adjourn.
A second.
Bill,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting is adjourned at 3:54.
All right, gentlemen, have a good day.